Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. So, it's coffee time for me and talk time. When it's cold, it's nice to have a nice warm cup of coffee. I don't know about you, but I enjoy it. I usually have 2 cups a day, so this is going to be my second one, and I'm done for the day. You know how we all go through these phases in life throughout throughout the whole thing where we people come and people go from our lives, right? And a lot of people sometimes they take things like that personally when they really shouldn't, because these things, they happen for a reason. We don't really know all the ins and outs of why these things happen, but there's a reason why they happen the way they happen. And what I mean by that is that we we meet people, throughout our life journey, through certain phases and parts of our life where sometimes we're going through certain things. And sometimes these people are a blessing, people that come into our lives for whatever reason. And then, there's always like some sort of a learning lesson behind the whole thing. So there will be people that, they will come into your life and you're gonna learn a lot from them. And vice versa, there's this like mirror effect that happens as well, because the other thing is, and I've talked about this many many times before, we how people get triggered by other people, right? That's a very natural thing to happen, and a lot of times we don't realize that the reason why these things happen and the reason why we get triggered by others, or the reason why we trigger others, is because we are showing each other aspects of ourselves that we are basically not acknowledging it, ignoring it, or pretending that you're not a certain way when that's exactly how you are deep inside. And by saying this, I may be triggering some people, and I don't really care because it's the truth. That's how it works. If once you live long enough to go through these things and experience them yourself, you understand that you will know that what I'm talking about is a fact. So, there's always going to be people like that that come into our lives at certain specific, you know, crossroad moments, pivotal moments, moments of major change and transformation, the shifts that everybody talks about, and things like that. So sometimes, although the experience on the surface level may feel like something bad, that's just the surface level. But when you take a deeper look at it, and you actually look at it, you know, from this perspective that I'm talking about, you will see that, yeah, maybe it felt bad and it was a bad experience, like I said, on the surface level. But did you ever stop to think about the lesson that you learned from that and how much wiser you become after going through such experience, whatever that was? It doesn't matter what it was. It could be many different things that everybody goes throughout in their lives. And I've talked about all of these things so many times here. There's so many things that can happen. Betrayal, um, pain, grief, broken heart, all kinds of stuff. It's the list is forever. It could be related to any type of emotion and feelings that we get, that they surface from certain experiences that we have and we go through and we live them, right? So, but there's a reason why people come and people go from our lives. And if you happen to know people that they actually have been a part of your life consistently throughout all your entire life, outside of family, like direct family that I'm talking about, blood relatives and people that you're always going to interact with for the most part because they're family. And family, that's how it is. We never stop seeing family. Well, in some instances some people will, depending on what kind of trauma they have and all that. And I don't condone that, but that's not, that's a choice that everybody has. But I don't think it's a healthy way of dealing with things. Because when we avoid certain things on purpose, it's because we are not growing from that experience. And if you're avoiding it, let's say from a parent, a relative, or a sibling, and anybody that's direct family. Okay, maybe you don't deal with them, you don't talk to them, you stopped talking to them. Been decades, whatever the case may be. There's people like that out there. I've met people like that in my life who I've talked to that I've always thought it was sad. People who don't talk to their fathers and stuff, and I'm like, I try I try to butt my head into situations like that a few times in my life, and I learned that it won't make a difference. And it's not our rights to try to interfere with things like that, no matter how good your intentions are, because the things that those people chose to experience in themselves, that's their experience, it's not yours. So we don't have the rights to try and get involved in things of such nature when we have nothing to do with it. You can have the purest best intentions, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to do you any good, because this is something that is up to that person to work it out for themselves, because that type of stuff is something that nobody else can do it for them. They have to do it themselves. And if they're not willing to do it, then that's their choice and you should respect that. And that's just one example of some of the things that I've learned throughout my journey and my life. Because for a long time I was that type of person that I was always trying to bring the best out in everybody. And I still do that, to some degree, and this is the reason why I do these videos and all that. But there's also this part of me now that respect these things, and I know when I shouldn't be, getting involved with the things that they have nothing to do with me at all, and I will just keep it to myself. It's best that way. So yeah, people come and people go. But like I said, if you are one of those people that you happen to know a few people throughout your life that they've always been around and they always stuck with you throughout your journey, those are the ones that you can call friends, real friends. The ones that are always there for you. The ones that no matter how good or bad whatever you're going through, you're always gonna have them there for you if you need them. in that sense. I have no idea what that feels like though, because I've never experienced that type of deep friendship with somebody else outside of family, really. I've known some people throughout my life, but not like that. And I think the reason why a lot of people do not experience these things, and there's nothing wrong with that, I'm not saying these things for people to feel bad for me or pity. I don't need that from anybody, trust me. I can take care of myself just fine. But what happens is people, that type of thing is rare these days. It's very rare, and the reason why a lot of people don't experience these things these days, which is it's what I call real friendships. It's because most people today, they don't change. And what do I mean by that? I mean, how many people have you known throughout your life, your whole life, that you know and I'm maybe let's talk about family in this sense, because that's how you can tell these things, that they've been the same their whole lives and they never changed. That's the best way to make an example out of it. And just as with family, the same thing happens outside, right? So most people, when I say most people, I'm talking generally speaking here. Obviously, that doesn't apply to every single person, but a lot of people, they remain the same their whole lives. They never change. So if they're a certain way, they have a certain um, what do you say, mindset, way of being. They're gonna be that way most of their lives. And people can change their minds about certain things as they get older and they live in the last years of their lives. And sometimes people change at that point, in that sense, because they start looking back and they see a lot of the things that they could have or should have done differently. But it's too late to do that, and we shouldn't be living in the past anyway, because I talked about this many, many times. Instead, what we should do is learn from our experiences, our mistakes, and all the stuff that happened that we would consider or call it bad things, and get the best out of it so we can grow and learn and become better. Because that's the whole purpose of being alive and being here. And in order for you to experience true friendship with others like that, you have to meet people that are like that they actually do change as they go through their life process. People who become wiser from their own mistakes, their own misfortunes, heartbreaks, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So that's the reason why people come and people go. Because when you change, if you start to change, when you start seeing life differently than others most do, you begin to change. You change. You're never gonna be the same person. Tomorrow you're gonna be different than you were today, because you're constantly changing and learning. And if you're one of those people, others find it very hard to stay within your energy field, because they don't like to accept that you're not always the same. And then people start judging you, and the whole thing works just like that. And I've talked about this before too, so there's plenty of videos for you to watch if you're new to the channel here. We're gonna be hitting 200 videos soon. So there's a lot of stuff here that you can go back and listen to if you're new, to kind of like get a better idea at what I'm talking about here. And this is the experience itself. It's life for all of us. There are those of us that decide to make changes, and then we change and we grow and we learn, and then there are those of us that just live a normal, regular, everyday, mundane life day after day and without ever changing a thing. If you don't change anything, you're not going to have a problem with people coming and going out of your life, because they won't. Most people will just be the same as you, right? But if you're always changing, always evolving, always learning, you're going to experience a lot of that people come, people go stuff. And you're going to understand and accept that that's just part of life, and it's how life is. And there's nothing wrong from detaching from people when the time comes and moving on with your own life, because you will meet new people that are more in tune and aligned to the type of person that you've become, and vice versa. And that's the beauty of it all. And this is all I wanted to talk about when it comes down to today. Take another sip of my coffee here. So, if you like my content, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It helps the channel grow and reach more people. And I truly appreciate that. And I will catch you all on my next one. Take care and be safe, my friends. Later.